Hi guys, and welcome back to the Hot Seat. I am your host Priscilla Moy, and we are live in real time here at Social Media Shows in studio. So we are going to jump right into our first guest. Now, as a woman, I am always driven by watching other powerful women live their dreams, motivate others, and kind of motivate even themselves as each day goes on. And we are going to be nothing short of that with our next guest. She is a executive protection agent. She's a martial artist along with an actress, and she also just coaches people. She has gone through the ringer, but she is here to talk about her story and why she is doing what she's doing and why she is who she is today. So everyone, please welcome Traci Lynn Cowan. Thank you so much for coming on. You look so amazing. Please take a seat on the hot seat. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic.
Yes.
I'm in Las Vegas.
Exactly.
Of course
Your
I'm good.
sun-kissed. It's great. We're wearing our summer colors. We're matching. Amazing. So thank you for coming first and foremost. I know you're not, new to social media shows. You're kind of done a couple shows since you've been in Las Vegas for a little bit, which is great. So there you don't have that little nervousness sitting here in the seat. But let's just start with you. You do so many different things. You also sit in my seat. You also are a host, so that's what makes this so much easier because you got to know how this goes. But you originally are from Canada, right? British Columbia.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your start and how you kind of paved the way for each of the things that you do.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. And yes, it's so good to be here, and it's nice to meet you. And I am from Vancouver, BC, Canada. I was born and raised there, and I've been in, LA for almost 10 years now. And I have done a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. So basically, what I do now is a direct reflection of what I went through. So as a young girl, as a child, unfortunately, I was subjected to a lot of abuse and a lot of trauma and a lot of neglect and abandonment. And I really, I made a lot of poor choices. I fell into addictions. I fell into eating disorders. I fell into mental health. I fell into a lot of things that I shouldn't have. I didn't want to, but I did. And now that I look back and I reflect on it, it's really defined me as a woman. And I'm able to do what I do because of my experiences. Mm-hmm. So obviously, as grueling as they were, and some things that you never want to be subjected to, especially as a young girl or as a young adolescent or even as an adult woman now today. So I just took everything that I had, and it was either die or live and thrive. Mm-hmm. And I chose to live and thrive. Yes. Because I didn't really have any choice, and I had to be strong. And I was a single mom, and I had a son at a young age, and I really wanted to be that example for my son, and he really gave me that strength to not give up. Because there were times where I was suicidal, and I did try to take my life on numerous occasions, and I thought about my son Cody. Mm-hmm. And so he saved my life, really, when I look back at it. And I am so blessed. People always ask me, they're like, why do you do so many things? And is there anything you don't do? And it's kind of like, well, why do you do so little? Or why are we not excelling ourselves? Why are we not pushing ourselves to limit? Because I have the capacity, I have the ability, I have the energy, and I have what it takes to do all these things. Mm-hmm. So I kind of am a free spirit now. So because I was so tormented by so many things in my life, it was just like, I want this freedom. I mean, I even wear butterflies, and I love birds, and I love freedom. Because again, when you're stuck in this place and locked into this like hostage situation your whole life, when you're finally free and you can get into this free spirit in this place of your life, it's like, why not do all this stuff?
Exactly, and free for you. A lot of people are just like, well, you've been doing it for some time, but I think what I'm getting from you is finding that peace for yourself, that happiness, why you're doing what you're doing. What motivates you is your son. There was always that underlying thing where I'm living for someone else. Like, how can I be someone that he can look up to and be proud of?
Exactly. And that is really it. And now that I've gotten into this stage of my life, and now it's like, I want other people to be proud of me too. And I want to be, and I am proud of myself. because it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of will. It takes a strong spirit, and it takes a fight to get to where I am. And so I am proud of that, and I want to make other people proud, as in that spirit of hope, faith, and letting them know, like, I did it and you can do it too, because there's so many people in such desperate places like I was. And you can't just say to people, it's okay, go ahead, you can do this, rah, 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 you know, get up and you'll be okay, you know. And I've had people do that. And when you're in a mental health situation and you're in adversity like you've never known before, and people are telling you just to get up and just, you know, kind of dust yourself off, it's like, that's not the way it works, and those aren't really, really good, valuable things to be saying to people. And as a trauma and transformation coach, I learned it's okay to not be okay, and allow people to be in the space that they're in, and just nurture them where they're at. And meet them where they're at, because I can't tell you to get up and not drink every day of your life. Not you, I'm just speaking of clients or people that I know. And I can't tell people to get off drugs, or I can't tell people not to have bulimia or anorexia, and I can't do all these things, but I can encourage them. And that's what I come back to, talking about being proud, going, okay, well, this woman has been through so much, and I'm so proud that she got through it, and now I can look up, she's an example, and I do have that hope a little bit. If there's like a grain of hope in somebody, in that will to fight, to live, then I'm doing my job, because this is my purpose to be here. And that's what I always knew. And you know, I'm a big believer of God, and I'm a big believer of the universe, and just being laws of attraction and things like that. And so it's like, what do you want your life to be like? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be admired by people? How do you want to live when you get up every day? Like, make that decision, because we do have that power of choice every single day.
Yeah, and I think it always comes down to the person and what their core want and need and purpose is. And I think you touch base to a lot of things, and I tell people this all the time, is that people want to be seen, they want to be understood. And when they feel like you will never know what it's like to be them, they're in a state where they can't even open their mind knowing that you have their best interest in mind, right?
Absolutely.
So sometimes it's not even telling them what to do, it's just listening. Saying, hey, how are you doing? Tell me about you, right? And like, okay, so where do you want to be? And slowly when they open up and they feel like, oh my God, someone's not, you know, looking down on me, treating me like a victim that I feel like I am, I feel like, oh my gosh, okay, so you get it. So that means I can do it, because you were here, you know? It might not be the same, but you kind of understand the feeling, right? It's all about the emotions and what our mind does, no matter who you are, no matter what place in life you are. No one is better than the other. It's just kind of always getting down eye to eye and being like, hey, just tell me about yourself.
And it's that human kindness, because look what's going on in the world right now. There's hate crimes, there's people just walking by people and slashing them for no reason, and killing people, and all these murders, and such just terrible things going on in society right now. And so not only do I teach people how to protect themselves and self-awareness and all these, and self-defense and everything, but it's also protecting our minds and protecting what we're hearing, what information are we allowing into our minds, our subconscious, what's going on in the background, what are we watching. People always ask me too, I had this conversation the other night, it's like, what are you watching on TV? And no offense to anybody that watches TV or you are liking that, but I am so protective of what goes on and goes into my mind, because whatever I'm feeding myself, it's like if I ate McDonald's, but I'm just going to say it. If I ate terrible food all day long, I am not going to have a good output in my life. It's going to affect every area of my life, relationships, health, and everything. And so it's the same thing. What are you feeding your brains? What are you feeding your mind? So if I'm surrounded by unhealthy people, or if I'm watching murder shows on the TV and then going to bed, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to be affected by this, because we are being polluted by all these sources. So protect your energy, protect your spirit, protect your mind, protect your body, just as you would, protecting your family and your loved ones.
Boundaries are very important. And they're, it's for you to set them. Some people are open to things and doesn't affect them that way, and some people can't. So it's always for the person. And boundaries are okay. We're used to a society that everyone's like, no, you should be accessible. What does it matter? Don't think too much into it. And you're like, well, to me, it does, because I just, right? Like, you have a different experience with life. So let's get into your martial arts. So I know you've been involved with Martial Arts Hall of Fame. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And is that kind of where you started, by training different types of martial arts to kind of get where you were, those steps?
Yeah, thank you. It's obviously such a huge honor to be inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame and having that. So I have been doing martial arts for probably about 28 years, and I have started off with boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai. I added into my styles with fitness and health and just everything that I was doing. And then I started to learn more different martial arts when I got here in the U.S., which was about 9.5, almost 10 years ago. And the fun thing about it is that I'm learning all these different styles. So Krav Maga, kickboxing, MDS, it's Master Defense Training Systems. I'm learning Kempo, Wing Chun, and just every style that I could. And I mean, you want to talk about rough and tough, training with some of the best of the best, and we're training in, this is in the backyard on cement, and it's grueling. And that's why hand-to-hand combat is so important to me, because you don't want to end up on the ground, because if you end up on the ground, you're going to get hurt, and it's going to hurt like heck if you fall on the ground on cement. And so training with men and training with women and high executive protection, doing tactical training with knives and guns and weapons. And again, I just like to clarify, I never train with any kind of guns or weapons or knives or sticks or anything like that to harm another person. This is for self-defense, this is for self-protection, and to teach other people how to protect themselves.
Okay, so you kind of took everything you learned, molded it into your own, and now you want to use that. Like, how can I do this where it resonates with me? For your sole purpose, which I love. Because you're just kind of like, and I can coach that because I train that. I can coach that. I can do that. This is what you do. But you're really passionate to the point where you're like, this is what I'm doing and why. Right? And there's reasons for it.
And I really love being an executive protection officer, because I protect high profile people, sometimes other celebrities as well, and VIPs, and it's men and women and children and families, and sometimes we travel and do different things. What I really love about it is I'm teaching people spatial awareness, I'm teaching people self-protection and self-defense. So if anything, there was a situation, then I would teach them how to protect their families, because we don't instinctually just know this. I think men have a little bit more of an instinctual access to this than we do as women. And so I love training women where they're, my clients and my students are like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Oh my gosh, I never thought about, oh wow, does that really happen? Oh wow, could that happen? And I post, and some people think I may be a Debbie Downer because I post a lot of things on my social media, where somebody's attacking somebody, or somebody's grabbed their child, somebody's abducted, and all these things. And remember this is the biggest thing I can tell everybody. This can happen to you. And people always say, oh, it won't happen to me. It'll never happen to me. Nope. And it can happen to you, and I pray to God it does not. So again, learning how home invasions, I teach people how to be prepared for a home invasion. So we prepare for earthquakes. Why don't we prepare for a home invasion? Because isn't this happening all day, every day now? So what would we do? What do we have our family? Do they have a game plan? Do we know if the children's room is downstairs and someone breaks in and the children are at access before the parent can get to them? What's going to happen? So these are things that are so important. We need to learn this stuff. And so that's what I teach. And I teach and educate people how to feel when there's something off. Trust your instinct, trust your intuition, especially as a woman, and being on your cell phone, being distracted, having headphones on while you're hiking, things like that. It seems basic, but it really is not
It's
basic.
not. Yes, my dad was a sheriff back in Chicago,
nice.
Cook County, so I was raised with kind of this really protective, like, control. When you're younger, you're like, oh, Dad, like, stop. But, like, now that I'm older and you live alone, I realize how observant I am.
Yeah.
And there's, like, to me, it's little things. To you, it would just kind of be, like, nature right now. I mean, you get out of the house, you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when I mention this to other people, their friends, they're like, wow, like, really? I never thought that would happen. I'm like, no, you know, like... Because the thing is, at the end of the day, like, you know, your stature is also involved. Like, anything can happen that you can't actually control. But if you can, you have the opportunity to kind of control what you can in the moment. In the event, you know, it's something where you're like, hey, I can do it. But, you know, it's very, very, very important.
Yeah.
You never know. You know, you might think people are watching.
Yeah.
You know, and then they could be watching for a while. They're not going to do anything. They act like your best friend.
People are filming, and that's the thing, too.
Yeah.
I really suggest that we get out there and we learn self-defense and self-protection, even if you're a man, because, again, if you don't know, what you don't know, you don't know. So if you don't know how to protect yourself from someone coming from behind you and putting you in a chokehold and with a knife in your hand and slit your throat within seconds. I mean, it is the reality of it. It's very brutal, and some people think it's I'm a little too much, but I'm so, like, this is so much passion for me because I'm here to save lives, and I do have a lot of skills to teach people. And so if you want to learn self-defense and self-protection with me, I would love to teach you guys. I'm going to be doing some seminars out here in Las Vegas, back in LA as well. So but yeah, definitely get out there and learn some skills, everybody, because it's also fun too.
And what I love about you is the fact that you're not going to judge them. I think one big fear about people is when they go to self-defense classes or even just a gym to work out, they're like, oh my goodness, everyone's staring at me, right? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it's so embarrassing, right? Like, and you're very much like, no, like, I get it. Like, I expect you to not know. Even if you do, then still, like, let's talk about it. Like, let me help you with what you don't know. And that's what's so amazing, because there's a very big intimidation factor.
Here it is.
With people in law enforcement and people who are in these positions where they're like, this is what you gotta do, right? It's very by the book, but you talk to people. You treat them like, you know, kind of an equal. Which I love that. This is the vibe that I'm getting, guys. So
thank you. And that I'm glad you touched on that, Priscilla, because it is intimidating. I was scared to death when I went and started doing this. All the women were like all jacked and everyone was like big and strong and intimidating. And I was big and strong, and I guess I was intimidating too. But for me, it was just like, how did I feel when I walked into those doors? I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know what to do. I had been attacked. I had been through a domestic violence situation with my ex-husband, and I was scared for my life. And I was in trauma response and fight or flight. And so when people come into my classes, men, women, children, I love on them. And it's like some of the times we just even talk more than anything and then do drills, because I can share as much knowledge with you just by talking with you. And if you're not ready for that, and we're not ready to go into techniques or any kind of stuff like that, then we just talk. And so it is intimidating. And I welcome you to just embrace that and just go, you know what? You're going to come in, you're going to be loved. It's not all fighting, and it's not, no one's going to get hurt. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's like, how did you feel when this happened to you? Or because some people may have come in after being assaulted or raped or, you know, or kidnapped or tortured. Like, there's a lot of people that come in at different spaces in their life. And so I always nurture and give that love to people that is deserved when they walk through the doors.
Because you never know what their story is, and they might not be ready to tell you those stories.
That's right.
So I think you have an element of counsel alongside with your class. You're just kind of like, all right, whatever, right? This is what you do. No, you're messing up, right?
No.
You understand that, I don't have to know what happened.
Yeah.
But let's work through these things, and if I can be a part of that help for you in a less intimidating way.
Yeah.
And so do you kind of work with enforcement when it comes to victims, like hands-on? Do you have people reach out to you that are a part of cases or higher ups kind of within enforcement?
I do. I have been working with survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, unfortunately, sex trafficking and abuse situations and you name it. I mean, just horrific stuff. And that's also why I became a trauma and transformation counselor and coach, because I knew that it was needed. And again, it's pouring on the love to these people, because again, there's so much stuff that's gone on for them. So we have to love these people again. So yes, I do work with law enforcement. I do work with a lot of different cases and things like that. And so it's obviously very private, so I can only say so much when it comes to that, for their privacy and respect of the families. So I definitely am there for people if they need it, and if they want to reach out and they've had an incident or a case where a family member has been injured or anything, or just reach out so that I can help and give them that information, or send them somewhere that they can get help as well. Other resources.
That's so amazing. And if they follow you on Instagram, they can tell that all your posts, you have a really big inspiration caption alongside of it, and all of them are completely different. They don't just touch base on your martial arts or other things. They also touch base with your daily life and also the other elements that you do, which is also acting, movies, premieres, and things like that, and you also being kind of a celebrity host. So how did you reach that avenue from going from all of this, and because that's like already a huge job, that's already like, oh my goodness, like to snap from that to more of like the glitz and glamour, as what people would call it, the dichotomy of that can kind of be a little shaky.
Well, the fun thing about me is that I am a very big free spirit, and the Lioness Leo personality of me is, once I accomplish something, I'm like, okay, what's next? Let's go, and so let's do something, and what else can I do? And that's why people always tell me too, your social media needs to be this and this, and it's like, my social media doesn't need to be anything than what it is.
Right, or what I want it to be, excuse me.
I just like, just be free and be fun, and like, and let people see your personality. And if you want to wear a bikini in your post and you want to do that, then great, just go express yourself. And again, I've never been the person where I'm like, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. I'm like, if I'm good at it, I'll keep doing it until I get bored of it, or I want to move on to something different. So I think that's kind of the rhythm of my life. And I believe too, because I sustained so many injuries from some accidents over the last couple of years, I had to really recreate myself, because I was in a wheelchair, I wasn't able to walk, and I've come out of a lot of adversity physically. And so for me, it was just like, what can I do with what I have right now? And so my circumstances, I was getting very emotional. It's hard to contain someone like me. So when I'm down for the count, which I was really like, my mental health was suffering with depression and things like that. So I had to recreate myself and go, okay, you can still learn. You can learn knowledge, take in this, read books, listen to audios, educate yourself. If you can't use your lower half of your body, then you can use your upper half of your body. If you can't use that, then use your mind. So I just had to be creative. And so basically being in that position, it allowed me to just expand into this. And now that I'm physically somewhat active again, I am able to go back into the action acting now and do all these things, and do my show Life Unleashed with TLC on my podcast, because my voice is still there. I just had to get my mental health back to where it needed to be, because I really felt for a little while I was down so bad that I wasn't able to express myself. I didn't have this inspiration coming out of me that I do again. So
nothing stimulating you to motivate yourself.
Yeah, it was pretty depressing. So, when you're injured and you're in physical pain every single day and emotional pain, those two combined together make for a disastrous outcome. So, especially for someone like myself with my personality. So, I feel so blessed and grateful that I'm back. Yeah. I feel like I have my mojo healthy, back.
Strong, and she's here. I'm a Leo too, so this is where I understand what you mean. When you sit there and you had all this you work for, and you're like, no, I can't do anything. You just feel like,
caged
what
animal.
Am I doing? The life is over, right? The end of the world is falling down on you. But then I understand what you mean by you have to kind of sit there and be like, okay, let's stop. Let me have one day where I cry and do all those emotions. But then let's kind of figure out, all right, well, this is what it is.
Yeah.
How can we make use of this?
Yeah.
Because it's that, or we're going to sit here. Time's going to pass anyways.
Yeah.
Right? It's that fire in you that's like, well, I have two choices right now. It's either just stop and cry and nothing's going to change, or find something where I can take the time, sit and learn, do these things, and go out there and just attack, right?
Yeah.
It's that attack that you kind of want because you're like, my presence needs to be known. That whole Leo thing, right? You're like, hey,
I'm feeling this over here. I knew it. We should have known by the orange.
The orange. See, it's perfect. It turns out to be absolutely meant to be, and I love this. So please tell the audience where they can get a hold of you, either if it's kind of somewhat an action movie, maybe they would love to have you on there, or to get more information about your classes, your seminars, your coaching.
Thank you. Okay, so TLCunleashed.com is my website. TLC Unleashed is my brand, Traci Lynn Cowan, and Traci with an I. And you can also find me on a new platform for trauma and transformational coaching called heal.me. I'm also doing self-defense seminars and basically all over the world. So we've got some in Vegas, we have some in LA coming up, and Survival Unleashed classes, those are called, and tactical training self-defense classes. And I also have a lot of movies coming up right now. Who's Gonna Take Care of Me? Feature film. I'm a feature lead in that, one of the feature leads. Also a documentary of my own, another film of my own, and 2 books. And so we've got a lot of stuff coming up. If you need an action actress, someone to kick butt and have fun on set, I'm your girl. So I can also do a serious role too.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you dabble in stunts, because I know it's a lot of times they do a tactical thing. So I wasn't sure if that's something you're comfortable with, considering you don't really coach. Sorry, with tactical
I'm like
gear
loving
and
on
like that.
healing people,
right? And you're like, but I
on
can
camera.
be Lara Croft. If you need
Oh
it.
yeah, that's why I like the I
I love that. That's amazing. I'm so sad that we didn't have enough time to delve more into the roles that you play, but that's just another reason to have you back on again, so we can get the intro out the way, your fighting out the way, and we can just talk about life as an actress in your book. But with all this information, I'm sure people will meet you and just feel your energy. And there's one last question I always ask all of my guests, because it kind of sums up the person, and it is there a philosophy that you live by?
Human kindness. We all need to contribute to this world. So no matter who you are, what you want to be, what you want to do, just be you. Always be you, true to yourself, because everybody wants to change you. Everybody wants to put things on you and attach things to you. Be free, be yourself, and always be kind to other people, because what you give is what you're going to receive back. So remember that, because it really is such a big key in this lifetime.
Perfect. See? Is that everything? Human kindness. I love hearing the answers. It could be short, it could be long, but it kind of sums up your whole interview. It shows what your drive really is, the purpose for what you're doing, and what mark you want to leave on the world, your own legacy.
Thank
and
you.
I absolutely love that, and I'm so honored to have you be sitting here in the hot seat, especially being a host yourself. It's like, oh my God, they're willing to be on my show when they have their own, It's a whole stigma that you have in your
great.
life. Thank
you are amazing. She is natural, and you just have a beautiful personality, and your spirit shines through. And so
thank you.
It's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me and taking the time.
So much coming from a powerful woman. Like, oh my God, you inspire me, and I can't wait to keep in contact.
Me too.
I'm going to be cheering you on, supporting you, and you're always welcome back on this show. So you got the email address, Maria, you got her now.
Priscilla, I'd love to have you on my show next. So let's do that. Keep this wealth.
We gotta keep it going. Amazing. Well, everyone, Traci Lynn Cowan, TLC Unleashed. When we come back, we're going to hop on to another guest who is no less amazing, because that's all we have here in the hot seat. So make sure you don't go anywhere.